So I guess we can slowly get started because it's already 2 p.m. So, so my name is Aniket Katil, and I'm one of the speakers in this series. And the first talk will be given by Madars Virza, who will be talking about sharks, actually, so not really. So I'll not take much time, and I'll leave it up to you. Please.
Okay. Thank you, Aniket. Indeed, I am Madars Virza, and I'm going to talk about joint work that we have with Eran Tromer and Mariana Rajkova, which is zero-knowledge sharks. So at the end, maybe there's going to be a pop quiz about how many memes are in the slides. But it's actually something very serious, and it's related to non-interactive zero-knowledge proofs. So just to set up the stage, ZK proofs are protocols between two parties, a prover and a verifier. And both prover and verifier know some kind of public input, and we call it instance X, but only prover knows a secret input, the witness. And prover wants to convince verifier that some relationship holds between the public input and the secret witness. And this might seem like very abstract, but it's actually extremely useful. For example, in Zcash, the public input is encrypted transaction. The secret input is transaction decrypted itself that only the sender knows. And then the language maintains that the public input and secret input are related. One is encryption on the other. And moreover, the transaction is valid. Like, it didn't create money out of thin air. And those properties are typically formalized by completeness, meaning true statements have proofs. Soundness, false statements do not. Like, if prover doesn't know such a witness, he shouldn't be able to convince the verifier. And finally, zero knowledge. The verifier learns nothing about prover's secret witness beyond what is clearly revealed by membership in the language. So that's just how usually non-interactive zero knowledge works. And actually, what I told you is a lie. Meaning, there is a theorem that this is impossible to do for interesting languages, like for NP languages, without any help. But it becomes possible if you allow yourself some kind of common reference string. So there is one time there's going to be a setup. It outputs a reference string. And then this reference string can be used many times by the prover and verifier to prove statements and verify them respectively. And the question, when you go about to deploy this zero-knowledge proof system, you have provers and verifiers, possibly on different continents, geographically distributed. And the question is, who generates this common reference string? It turns out that if it's generated maliciously, then the security properties break down. Of course, if it's done in centralized setting, like inside an organization, your IT department would generate the CRS. But if you want to use decentralized consensus applications for our proof systems, well, we better find out some way to generate the CRS. And good news is that for many proof systems, the common reference string is actually random. And many things look random, like weather looks random, stock market looks random, or output of SHA looks random. So heuristically, we can just say instantiate bulletproofs by saying, well, it requires common reference string, but we are going to get it from SHA-256. Well, there is also bad news that the most efficient proof systems have complex common reference strings that are not exactly random. So the landscape essentially looks as follows. On one side, there are NISICs and non-pairing-based snarks, like bulletproofs or STARKs, or other systems for which CRS is random. On the other side, there are pairing-based snarks, like Grow16 or Sonic, for which CRS is actually complex, and it embeds some kind of secret. It reasons about computation template, and then does tests based on this secret. And in practice, the ones without any kind of secret setup tend to have slow verification as statement grows, and or large proofs. Like bullet proofs are very nice for small statements like range proofs, but if you wanted to prove things about like million gate circuits, the verification would be like order of like, say, second. Or like STARKs are great, super fast verification, but proofs tend to be like in hundreds of kilobytes. Whereas for those ones that do rely on setup, well, we made some strong assumption, namely setup itself, we get something in return. And most efficient ones have very quick verification, just proportional to reading the input itself, and very small proofs, like hundreds of bytes. So given that this efficiency is very desirable, maybe there is a way how to get around the setup. Ideal world, we would have somebody trusted, as I said, like maybe your IT department does it. But in real world, we are going to use a setup ceremony. We're going to have many participants, each of which contributes a share to the to the trapdoor of the setup, and then out comes the common reference string. And you would want that like ideal world setups and real world setups essentially are the same. This actually can be achieved. And good part about this is that the constructions only require single point of success. So it's not a single point of failure as in many systems, it's a single point of success. If at least one participant is honest and their keys didn't get compromised, then CRS is really distributed as it should have. And you can imagine that like collusion is probably unlikely to happen, say if those individuals are in the room and generating your setup. But there is a setup itself. Are those ceremonies really secure? Well, there's a question of like actual security. Did the trapdoor, or like ZkSHARKS calls it, toxic waste, come into existence? And like I don't think that anyone seriously thinks that like say 50 or 100 people ceremony had all participants compromised or colluding. At the same time, there's like epistemological question like, why should I believe it? Like, why should I believe that those participants even existed? Like, do I know? And like in 100 years, like it becomes like a myth. Like there were like, I don't know, like maybe Ron Rivest participated in ceremony, like out came a setup, but like, did Ron Rivest really exist? How do you know? Well, I know, but the question is like, maybe we should just like take the efficiency hit. Like maybe I will accept bigger proofs, maybe I will accept slower verification. Like the setup like looks kind of thorny. Like maybe the efficiency hit doesn't matter. And I would say that like there are scenarios where efficiency hit does matter. Like let's suppose we have our favorite distributed consensus protocol, which uses proofs underneath. So there is Alex and Steve, and Alex has a transaction which embeds a proof, and the transaction propagates. And like at one point, Steve will see the transaction and say, like, "Oh yes, I received the payment, at least provisionally." So the propagation speed is obviously dependent on how fast you can verify the transactions. And there's also other participants in the system, like miners or block producers. And they need to get new transactions fast to include them in the block. And even more so, you need to verify the previous block to decide on what to mine on top of. And slow verification is actually a security risk. Like there are incidents where people just did SPV mining. Like signature verification for us is too expensive, so we are just going to permit a chain split by turning off the signature verification. And well, ideally we would want like miners not to do that, but there's some evidence that like if verification was super slow, maybe people will come back to SPV mining again. So what we introduce and propose is something called ZkSHARK, which is zero knowledge succinct hybrid argument of knowledge. And it's a short proof that can be verified in one of two ways. There is prudent verification, which is asymptotically slow, comparable to bulletproofs, but doesn't require any kind of setup ceremony, at least heuristically. And then there is optimistic verification, which is fast, comparable to pairing-based SNARKs, but does rely on private coin setup. So we will probably need a ceremony. And if people deployed, say, replaced their proof systems with sharks, here's what would happen in our Alex and Steve example. Alex produces a transaction, and all the nodes in the network would optimistically verify the transaction during the propagation, and that's it. Miners, see if I'm going to spend my proof of work on include this transaction in a block, I will verify it provisionally using this optimistic mode, and then later during the proof of work, I'm going to do the slow verification. And the same when I see a new block. I'm going to provisionally verify. It's fast, just like verifying SNARK proofs. And then while proof of work is happening, I'm going to go and do the sanity check by verifying the prudent mode proofs. Okay. But remember, this prudent verification does rely on setup. So one might reasonably ask, what if prudent verification fails? Sorry, yes. Optimistic verification passes, prudent verification fails. So this can be detected in real time. And you can immediately see that this pair of transactions where prudent proof didn't verify but optimistic did is a fraud proof that setup is compromised. So you have irrefutable proof that something is fishy going on with the setup. So what can you do after this is, of course, you revoke the setup parameters. But in a shark, you can recover. You recover soundness by just prudently verifying, and then you recover efficiency by redoing the setup and refreshing the optimistic proofs. And the good part about sharks is that those optimistic proofs can be generated by anyone without the original sender. It doesn't require the original witness at all. So like in 100 years, we might not remember who the greatest cryptographers of our era are, but they will have different guys. Maybe those can be participants of this system. And they will be able to refresh all the old proofs. So in the next couple of slides, I'll tell you how this works in a little bit more of detail. So generically, one might think, well, isn't this just the same as concatenating in parallel an existing proof system without setup, like bulletproofs, and a typical SNARK, like Rho16? Well, let's see. So I'm going to construct my NIZK for it. And it's just going to be like a standard proof system. Prover produces a proof, a verifier verifies it. And I'm going to call this NIZK proof without a setup a prudent proof. And then I'm going to construct a SNARK for the same language. Verification is efficient, it's a SNARK. And I would like to say, well, maybe this SNARK proof can serve as my optimistic proof. But it cannot. Like, optimistic proof should be refreshable without knowing the witness. And those proofs, if I want to refresh them, I necessarily need to know the witness to run the SNARK prover. So Shark is not just like two proofs like yanked together side by side. So, but there's a generic construction that does in fact work, and like this one. And I'm going to do the same. Like my prudent proof is just going to be any NIZK proof, like bulletproof. And then I'm going to construct a SNARK for a different language, not the language that the original statement was satisfied, but proving that the NIZK verifier was satisfied. And now I can call the SNARK proof the optimistic proof. Because my SNARK prover reasons about NIZK verification, it doesn't need to know the witness, because NIZK verifier didn't need to know the witness. So generically, there is a way, if you give me just any two proof systems, one with setup, one without, to get a shark. And so, like, that's nice, but That's kind of like not too exciting from efficiency perspective. It's you can do it, but it's going to be challenging to get efficient shark out of it. Like, let's suppose I took those state-of-art components, like I took bulletproof SNIZK and gross 16 snark. Well, my prover starts by reasoning about a circuit of some size. And bulletproof's prover, well, it does some operations, but bulletproof's verifier actually does security parameter times the circuit size group operations. And then my snark prover needs in its belly to embed this bulletproof verifier. And while you get like some speed of using multi-exponentiation or whatnot, your snark prover is going to take a lambda squared times hit. And like if your security parameter is like, I don't know, like 256 or whatnot, like the constants are actually pretty accurate here. So it's not going to be, it's likely not going to be efficient. So what we do instead is we have like a chubby shark right here, but we can actually go and get like a lean shark, so to speak, by working directly. Namely, we first construct NIZK for R1CS, and so it's like R1CS is a language that has appeared in many snark papers. It's essentially arithmetic circuits with bilinear gates. And we do it by exhibiting a new compiler technique for linear PCPs. And then we show how any, and then we just use our NIZK as a prudent mode proof system. In order to achieve it, we also produce optimized variant of bulletproofs in a product argument along the way. And the good thing about our NIZK system is it's tailored so its verifier has like an algebraic heart. So we don't need to use generic embedding into a snark prover. We can actually construct a special purpose snark that only knows how to prove statements essentially about our NIZK verifier. And actually can do more. If you're familiar with polynomial delegation, we introduce a slightly related problem, encoded polynomial delegation. And that's how we achieve special purpose snark and avoid this lambda squared blow up in the construction. And that's our shark. Unfortunately, I cannot go into more details and stay on top of the time, but we did give a talk at ZK-Proof workshop. So while you're waiting for the ePrints, there's actually a talk with more details about it. So asymptotically, let's look about how it performs for, say, like a circuit of n gates. And the prudent proof, essentially, prover just does FFT and like multi-exponentiation, and that's all. And the verifier is about as efficient as bulletproofs. It also does one multi-exponentiation. And the proof size is actually comparable to bulletproofs, like give or take a couple elements. And our optimistic proofs are in fact comparable with best known snarks with, say, gross 16. So if you wanted to use sharks in practice, you would have two proofs, one of them approximately bulletproof sized and one of them approximately gross 16 sized. But you get this additional properties that anyone can go and refresh proofs even after 100 years. Again, we have great experience implementing snark, so implementation work is forthcoming, but we do expect this is going to be comparable in prover efficiency to best existing snarks. So to wrap up, we introduce a new primitive where it's a proof system where setup is only required for performance, but it's not required for soundness or zero knowledge. The compromised setup, if it happens to be so, can be quickly detected and remediated. And we expect our speed to be competitive, and asymptotically it is, with best current ZkSHARKS. And ePrint of our work is forthcoming. Thank you very much.
We do have time for questions.
Yeah,
Can you say what is the performance of the refresh operation?
OK, so refresh operation just involves running the snark prover. And the snark prover is about as expensive how would gross 16 just for proving the original language itself.
So you have to do it for all the transactions.
Yes, like if you uncover a compromised CRS, you can go and like refresh all proofs by reproving all of them. Probably people will do checkpoints in 100 years or something, or maybe not, but yeah. Yeah, Bob.
So since you started out with motivation using miners, the motivation you started with was that I have to produce proofs or validate proofs as fast as possible. This is an artifact of the fact that you're using a blockchain as a synchronous system, right? So I can't afford to have two people produce blocks at the same time.
Correct.
And so I want to push that validation time to, it has to be as close to 0 as possible.
Yep.
There's another way to get around this, and that is just use the direct acyclic graph.
Oh, yes, true.
Two blocks can be validated at the same time. Now, that's kind of neither here nor there. I think there are other good motivations for what you've done.
Yeah.
Just comment.
I completely agree. Like, if you don't require fast verification or can do it in the background, and you might as well use an ISIC. But like, if for some reason, like, which would be all the currently deployed proof of work protocols would require that, and you can either need to use snarks or maybe you can use sharks. Excellent comment.
Okay, one question from my side. So you went for bulletproof here, but what about when what about we are going for some other systems which require random CRS? Will that be easy, or any thoughts on that?
So actually, in building our proof system, we couldn't just directly go use bulletproofs because we were not able. Oops! Wow, Windows is crazy. We couldn't adapt our special purpose snark to be bulletproof friendly. So we would have loved to just use bulletproofs, but we constructed a special NISIC so that our special purpose snark could work. We do expect that like this approach will be useful more generically, but yeah, it's not a given that special purpose snarks will work. There might be some work involved. Yeah.
Is there an argument that long term this asymmetry between not having a CRS and having a CRS is going to remain the way it is? In other words, is it possible that trustless setups are going to eventually be as fast as trusted setups? Is there an argument or proof that that can never be the case?
So like in terms of being as fast, we know of counterexamples like Starks have very fast verification, but the proof sizes are large. And I don't think there's, or at least I'm not aware of any impossibility result for small proof size fast verification. But currently you can only get one of two, essentially.
Any more questions? All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.